Hello, today is the 25th of March 2025. Okay, so I do want to talk about the last few days specifically and many thoughts that went through my mind, but I don't have like a specific situation that I necessarily want to talk about or put on this video for. But yeah, there's been a lot of different thoughts in the past few days, and moments that were honestly really good, and then moments that were not so great and where I was struggling a bit more, once again with my own thoughts. And I know that I talk a lot about the Thrive program in my videos because that's basically the main focus of my life at the moment. I'm really working on it a lot and I'm learning so much through that. Yeah, I can see the progress I'm making and so on. It just helps me to reference the Thrive program so that I can kind of explain what I really mean and so on, and that's just kind of what I'm working on at the moment. That's my life right now. I don't really know where it all started, so I don't know. The past few days have been kind of weird. I have been brooding a lot. I have been really obsessively thinking about certain things, which is a very unhelpful thinking style to engage in. And obviously I'm working on that, and it has really, gotten much better since the past, or in the past few months and so on. But in the past few days I've kind of engaged in that again, and why people brood, or what it kind of says in the Thrive program, why people do that, is especially when they have a high desire for control, they kind of brood to try and figure out an answer to a perceived threat, basically. Or they try to brood about it because they're like, okay, if I think about this obsessively, I can try and figure out a way that I can handle this situation, or I can, deal with it, or I can do something about it, and so on. Whereas actually what brooding does is the exact opposite. It makes you feel much less powerful, and it kind of keeps you really trapped in that, a scenario, or in those thoughts that you were trying to find an answer to, because all you do is really brood about those thoughts. And that's exactly what I have been doing, and that therefore I've made myself feel quite powerless. And yesterday there was quite a big downfall. The day before that was okay, but that's kind of when I started engaging in brooding. And none of these downfalls that I've had over the past couple of months, really, since Christmas, were really, really big. I don't think any of them were super massive and super dramatic. But some downfalls, some blips, they just feel more heavy and more severe, or more dramatic than other ones. Yeah, and what I've been trying to find an answer to, especially, I would say, is my feelings for my friend, basically. So as you may know, I've mentioned him in a lot of videos before. I have a friend, Mario, in Spain, and we've been in a lot of contact, and it's it's just a really lovely friendship, and I really like him. And I said in a lot of videos already that I'm just open for more, and my outlook was always nothing needs to happen. I'm not I need something, I really want something, but I'm just open to see if there might be more between us. And in the past few days I've just noticed that, yeah, my feelings have gotten stronger, I would say, for him, and I'd really like to tell him about it. I'd really like to tell him, because I want to do that for myself, to be look, I feel this way about someone and I can do something about that. I can tell them. I want to let him know for myself, not necessarily for him so that he knows and then he can say yes or no to me. Not really that reason, but mainly for myself, because I just want to tell him about it. And because I'm open for more, or to see if there is anything between us. But I've really been brooding about that a lot the past few days, and made myself feel very down about it. A lot of thoughts that were no, he definitely doesn't like me, and no, he's definitely not gonna say that he wants to go out with me or whatever. And there's other proof that I found where it's like, yeah, maybe he does see something between us too, or maybe he just hasn't admitted it to himself yet. But yeah, the good thing is I'm not going to go into all of those thoughts right now, because I actually made a video about that yesterday, which I didn't originally plan to post, but I will. Because you can just see what I've been thinking about and brooding about a lot, and what's been going on in my mind. So that's the video I would post before this one. But what I want to say is that the funny thing about that actually is, in the evening, me, him and Alana, we had a phone call, and we haven't been calling very regularly now, like since 2 weeks or something. We haven't been calling every day, whereas before that we called like basically every day. Or we texted a lot, whereas now, like the past 2 weeks, I would say we haven't been in that much contact, not as much as we were before that, but still, we do still talk on the phone here and there, and we text in between and stuff like that. But the funny thing is, anyway, that yesterday he basically, like, I'm pretty decided that I want to tell him, or I was yesterday pretty decided, like, I do want to tell him about this, but I was brooding. That's another reason why people brood, because I didn't trust in my coping skills. I was like, if he comes back with a no, or like, no, I really never felt that way about you, never thought that way about you, or if something like is awkward between us then, or it kind of ruins the friendship, I was like, I don't know if I can handle that or not. I wasn't really thinking, I don't know if I can handle that. I was like, how can I handle that? Like, what can I do so that I feel fine and I feel like, look, these things happen and it's okay and I'll be fine and I can move on and so on. So I kind of felt like, the outcome is not in my control. So I was like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, I don't know, if I want that. And I've been thinking a lot about different outcomes that could happen. That's all because of my desire for control, and yeah, I don't believe in my coping skills enough that, I'll just be fine. And that's why other people that are like, that trust in their coping skills know they can cope and they'll be fine, whatever the outcome is, even if it's not pleasant, they're gonna get over it. They wouldn't brood because they'd know, I can handle it, I'll be fine. So they wouldn't even engage in these unhelpful thinking styles because they just trust in themselves. But yeah, that just shows, I'm just learning a lot about myself. So that just shows the fact that I did brood shows that I don't trust in my coping skills enough. I don't feel like I'm strong enough, or like I can handle it well enough, or I have the skills to cope, even though I can obviously learn all of that as well. But yeah, going on to the call then, I'm sorry, I keep like going back and forth. He basically made up this entire story that he's still holding on to a former girlfriend of his or something, and that he kind of can't get over her and can't really let go of her, and yeah, that apparently she called him over the weekend and he doesn't know what to do now. He doesn't know if he should just stop all the contact or if he should talk to her and stuff like that. And when he started saying that, my heart broke. Like, I was about to cry, but obviously I had to I wanted to try and keep it in and be like, look, at least I got my answer. Literally what I yesterday wanted to find out, and basically decided I'm gonna tell him to just see what happens. And I basically got my answer then in the evening, and so I thought. So I was like, okay, at least I have my answer. I just need to let go of him, and he still likes someone else and stuff like that. So I was I was quite heartbroken, but I was also like, okay, at least I have my answer now. And yeah, because he asked me and Alana then, okay, should I keep talking to her or should I stop it? My first thought was like, don't talk to her. But then I was like, no, that obviously not, that I'm not gonna say that. So I then just asked him told him well, it depends on what you want. Like, do you still like her? Do you still want to be with her? Do you want to talk to her more and stuff? So just look at what you want and stuff like that. And then he went on to saying, yeah, but the breakup was a bit messy, and what if that happens again? And then my advice was that, well, that's always the risk we take in every relationship, that it can always end. Like, it can, you can always break up, but you shouldn't decide not to go into a relationship just because you're afraid of it ending, because then you're going to miss all the good parts as well. So that was kind of my advice to him, and I was honestly proud of myself that even though I like him and I would want to be with him or see if there's something, that I was still able to like not be jealous or not let any of those thoughts go in between, but I was like basically selfless in that moment, and I just liked that version of me who was strong, who was like, I don't need to have him, I don't need to have him in my corner and no one else can have him, and he's not supposed to like anyone and stuff like that. I was like, I don't know, I was really proud of myself for noticing I didn't let jealousy or any sort of negative emotions or thoughts get in the way of what I truly, want for him, or what I truly believe in and stuff like that. So I don't know, I was just really proud of myself, and I liked who I was in that situation. And then at some point, like, this went on for like at least 15-20 minutes. He told me basically like the entire backstory of it. He really went into like detail and stuff. And I know that he said some of that was like true, not that he's holding on to her anymore, but that he did in the past, for example, or they did date in the past and so on, but that he has to completely let go of her and stuff. He doesn't feel that way anymore. So basically he was talking about the truth, I guess, but of something that he experienced in the past. But then he just looked at the camera and he was like, I think now it's time to tell you that this was all a joke and I made this all up. Oh my god. I cannot tell you, first of all, how much I hated him in a joking way. How much we laughed then. And also what a big relief I felt. Oh my god. First of all, why would he do that? Is he really just messing and wanted to just be stupid? Or was he like trying to kind of test me or see maybe how I would react to a story like that of his? I don't know, but he was like talking with me the whole time, because Alana was not really part of that conversation. She was kind of on her phone. So he was constantly like looking at me and talking to me and telling all these things to me. So I don't know why he did that. I feel like maybe he did that on purpose, but I don't know. Alana basically in that moment put down her phone as well and was so relieved for me too. Both of us looked at each other and like put our hands on each other's shoulders and stuff, and we both were so relieved. She was so relieved for me, and in that moment I knew now was my chance, basically. Like, this was a perfect way, and I know I shouldn't say perfect anymore because that's not helpful for me, but honestly this was like a perfect situation for me to hint at him very obviously that I like him, and this is what I wanted to do. So what I said then is like, well, let me just say I am very happy about that it was a joke. And then all of us laughed, and he was like looking at the camera like, oh my god, like laughing. And then it went on to just me and Alana kind of giggling and like moving back and forth, and like we were all like, this is just crazy and whatever. And then I looked at Alana and I was like, I was about to cry. And then he again looked at the camera and was like laughing and stuff, and Alana was like, yeah, I know, and stuff. And I don't know, like I was pretty obvious in that situation. and that's exactly what I wanted to be. And so now he has something to think about, and I was so happy that this happened, and this was like the perfect situation to tell him, to not make it awkward, not make it weird, not like ruin anything, not like say anything out of the blue. It was like the perfect way. And at first I was already like, okay, I have my answer. He's still holding on to someone, so you know, I have my answer. And obviously, even though I was of course sad about that, it was still, I was happy that I had my answer. Then turns out no, and then I had the perfect opportunity to say how I felt about him. And this is so funny because yesterday I made a video about this, talking about all my different thoughts and options and blah blah blah, and I was like, I really want to tell him, but I don't know how. And I've been brooding about this for days, like crazy. It was so cool. And obviously then, like, first when we finished the call, me and Leona still sat together for a bit, and I just had to tell her how I felt right then and there. I had to just tell her about this. And then I went into the living room and kind of told Mom about this as well. And I was like smiling so much and so happy. And I was so happy, not in the sense that like, okay, now he knows and I'm gonna wait until he says yes or no, but in the sense that I finally said something. I did it for myself because I wanted to do this. And then I noticed how freaking unhelpful brooding is, and how it really kept me stuck in like a hole, and it pulled me down more and more, and it was so unhelpful. But at the same time, in that brooding moment, like I really didn't know if it was okay or the right thing to do to tell him. So that's why I just kept brooding about it, because I didn't want to just let it go, because I wanted to tell him. So I think the right thing would have been, yeah, to tell him, but at the same time it wouldn't have been right to just tell him right then and there when I wanted to, because I didn't feel strong enough in myself. So I don't know, that's why these situations are a bit tricky. But what really doesn't help is to brood. And I really noticed that yesterday, because as soon as I then told him basically like, I'm so happy that was a joke and whatever, and I kind of told him how I felt, like, yeah, kind of like hinted at it very strongly, I felt just so relieved and so much lighter, because I just finally did what I wanted to do. I was so happy about that. I was like so happy. And yeah, then after a while, a bit of fear thoughts came in my mind. You know, what if now it's awkward, or he doesn't like me, or he thinks that was weird or whatever. But those thoughts just came into my head in between, and then they kind of went away again, because I didn't give them much attention. I didn't want to brood about this anymore. It really didn't help me at all in the past few days, and just made me feel more powerless. So yeah. But yeah, then another thing, for example, is that me and my dad started building a website for me, because I have decided to finally post, or not really publicly post my videos, but to put them somewhere for people to see. So if you go onto the website and click onto a link, it will bring you to my YouTube channel. But you can't find my videos through YouTube. You can only find them through that website. So it's a bit still private and not like out there yet. But the fact that I even decided to do that, first of all, shows how much my self-esteem, my confidence, my social confidence, and my sense of power and control increased like so much. It's absolutely crazy. Like, the fact that I'm not constantly like afraid of what people are gonna think of me when I post these videos, like, is crazy. And my main thing is that I'm doing these videos for the people that want them, for the people that I can help with these videos and through these videos. And I'm doing it for myself because I want to. I love making videos. It helps me so much to find clarity, to just speak and be myself, and I don't know, just put it out there and just do it. Like, I want to do that. So it's so cool. And also that I'm working with Dad is also another step. The fact that I'm doing it and saying yes, and I'm being very patient honestly with him, just silent, and a lot of the work, you know, takes a long time, and sometimes I have no idea what he's doing because he is the one who can build websites and stuff. So yeah, I don't know, I'm being very calm, and I don't know, it's working fine, whereas in the past I would have been terrified to work with him, and it also wouldn't have worked out usually. It just didn't really work out in the past because we both wanted different things, or we're both opinionated and so on. So I don't know, we would have always kind of clashed, whereas as of right now it's working really well because I'm just also being, you know, very patient and calm, and no stress, and nothing needs to be blah blah blah, just step by step. So that's really cool as well. And then another thing is that I'm going to Spain today week, actually for 5 weeks, about 5 weeks, and my friend from Germany is coming over in between for 6 days. Her and I don't have a lot of contact, but we have always kind of stayed in contact a bit. She was here in Ireland with me during the October holidays 2021. And then we saw each other again in 2022, but since then we didn't see each other anymore. And we write letters to each other in between. Like, we haven't really written that many letters the last year or something. But yeah, we do kind of stay in contact mainly through letters, and then obviously in between on WhatsApp, but we really don't have a lot of contact. But for some reason we're just kind of still friends, and we still want to meet each other, and I don't know, she's still a part of my life, which is so nice. And I have great memories with her, and when she was here in Ireland I loved it so much. And yeah, it's so exciting that she's coming over, and we're just going to spend some time together. And that also shows, you know, how much I grew, that I'm going to be in Spain alone. I'm going to drive back from the airport alone, collect her from the airport, bring her back, bring myself back to the airport, park the car there, fly back home, be in Spain alone, go shopping alone, like, spend time with her, drive to places. Like, I don't know, it just shows how much I grew, and I love it. It's so cool. And yes, a part of me is so excited. Another part of me is creating stupid thoughts about it. Like, yeah, you know, I'm focusing too much on my friend Mario and going over there. I should focus more on her and being excited about her coming over. So that's what I've been noticing so much as well. What really doesn't help me, and where I pull myself down, is when I tell myself I should do this and that. That's actually where the blips, oh my god, I found it. That's actually where all of these unhelpful thoughts started. It was on Saturday, basically. Dad told me, okay, I can show you some things from about the website today, and I actually felt like I didn't want to work on it that day because it was a Saturday and I actually just wanted to relax and not do much that day. But I told myself I should work on it, and I should do this and that because I'm going to Spain soon, and I should work with him because he can show me how to do it, and because I want to learn, and I want to be able to do it by myself as well, and stuff like that. But I told myself so strongly I should do it, even though I felt like I actually didn't want to. So I guess what would have been more helpful was for me to say, okay, Dad, actually I don't really feel like working on it today. Is it okay if we do a different day and then deal with whatever he comes back with? Or say like, okay, let's I'd prefer to just work on it for an hour or something. Like, I don't know, like I could have helped myself more, but I told myself I should do it, and then I felt trapped. And then I felt like, okay, now I have to do it. I'm making myself do it. And that's when I felt so down. Like, I felt like I didn't want to do anything anymore. Like, I really pulled myself down by telling myself I should do this and that. And that's something I've done my whole life. That's what the control issue kind of is about, because I tell myself I shouldn't be this person, I should be that person, I shouldn't do this, I should do that, I shouldn't like this, I should like that, I should do this and that, blah blah blah. Like, there's always this should instead of what do I want, what is helpful for me. And yesterday then I noticed, wow, that is actually extremely unhelpful. telling myself what I should do. So today, that's my focus, is to notice when I tell myself I should do certain things and then see, okay, what's more helpful? Is there a different way I can talk to myself and still, get to where I want to be and stuff like that without needing to tell myself I should do this and that, or I should be a certain way. So yeah, I'm excited to figure out more about that, and I'm happy I actually noticed it, because every time I kind of feel down, it's because I tell myself I should or I shouldn't, instead of, being gentle on myself, like relax. Yeah. Then another couple of bits that are really cool was basically I was feeling down one of the evenings, and then what I did was watch a video of myself and my sisters where we were like really happy and really excited. I watched that video and then I noticed how I was smiling at the video and how I had therefore stopped thinking about whatever negative thing I had been thinking about, and I noticed how helpful it was for me to watch a video where I was happy and where I was excited, and then I teared up because I was like, oh my god, I just regained perspective and my life isn't all negative and dark and stuff like that. But that's something, I've been doing as well, is thinking negatively about everything, kind of. Like, when something happens, or not really something happens, but when I create certain thoughts, I think negatively. Like, I don't know. Okay, for example, I have this whole day of a lot of good experiences, but when there's one bad thing, I focus on that so much, and then I'm like, I'm not getting better, like I still created this blip, I still created that bad moment, and if I were to just focus on the good things, then I'd not be living in reality anymore because there's something bad that happened. But the thing is, I'm not seeing it in balance. I'm really focusing on the bad thing, and then I don't know, maybe beating myself up for that a bit, or being like, oh, everything's down and dark, and I don't know, I really focus in on that. That's what I've been doing the past few days as well. And this again is my desire for control. Being like, I need to find a way that I don't do that anymore, and that all my days are completely great and super great. But the thing is, I believe the negative things more than the positive things. So I'm like, no, the negative thing was real, which means overall my day wasn't great. Because I focus in on that so much as well then during the day, like being like, oh, I created this negative moment, and then I kind of plague the rest of my moments, and I'm like, that seems more true to me than the positive moments. And I don't know, like, it's so unhelpful as well to be negative and to think negatively, because if you think positively, you feel more like you can handle things, you can make things happen, you're not helpless, and your life, you want to create stuff then. But I feel like if I'm just positive, that then my world could come crashing down, or like, I'm so like scared of that. That's why I think thinking negatively is necessary. I believe that that's going to keep me safe, basically. That I'm not going to be disappointed then, or like I'm not going to, I don't know, I'm always going to be able to look out for the negative stuff and be aware of them and then stay away from them or whatever. Like, I'm scared of thinking positively, which is so like stupid, honestly, because it's proven that thinking positively is better. Yeah, I'm trying to work a lot on my internal sense of power and control. So building my coping skills and seeing that I can cope, and also my control skills to not be helpless, but to do things about whatever situation that I can do things about. And to influence whatever, I can in a helpful way, and then but then things that are outside of my control, to be able to cope with them and to build the coping skills and trust that I have those coping skills, so that I don't need to brood, I don't need to have a high desire for control, I can just be relaxed, I can think positively. But it's still a work in progress for sure, but I don't know, I've really been thinking negatively about a lot of things, and that's obviously been making me feel down, but I feel like that's necessary. I'm telling myself I need to think negatively so that I'm safe, basically, so that things don't come crashing down, so that I don't believe a lie, basically, but that I can see the full truth and see the negative things that happen as well, because they're real too. And if I'm telling myself, if I think positively, that I'm going to be blind, basically, to actually the things that hurt me, for example, and my pain, and then that at some point I'm going to wake up and be like, oh my god, all this time I've felt so much pain and I've just ignored it because I've been thinking positively, and really I haven't been doing great, and now I'm on the floor and I've ruined everything. That's what I'm afraid of, because that's kind of what happened in my depression. But again, it's just the way that I was then in that moment thinking about it. In truth, I was doing better and felt more powerful because I was thinking positively. At the same time, in my depression, I then, blocked out the negative stuff because I felt like I couldn't handle them. Whereas now I'm aware of those things too, and I can challenge them, grow from them. But I feel like if I'm just positive, then I'm gonna block those out and not see them, and that's why I'm trying to be negative, basically, and focus on the negative extreme amounts, so that I'm like, look, there is something bad here, like your life isn't great, so don't believe it is great, because then it'll come crashing down. Like, it's so stupid, it's so twisted, but yeah. Anyway, what I actually wanted to say as well is, when I watched that video of myself being happy and then noticing I was smiling at the video, I then in that moment decided, no matter what it takes, I am going to thrive. I am done and dusted with feeling shit about my life, and with feeling out of control, and with feeling powerless, and feeling like things are happening to me and it's all bad, and I'm done with that. I am going to thrive, and I'm going to do whatever it takes so that I can thrive, obviously in a helpful way and not in a way that hurts anyone else. But I, in that moment, decided I'm going to thrive. I'm going to thrive. And since then, I've put on a challenge for myself every single day where I need to go outside of the house. So I've actively challenged myself. So I, for example, went to collect my sisters from school and work with Dad, whereas in the past I wouldn't have done that, because I would have created anxiety in the car with Dad, because in the past I felt uncomfortable towards him and I felt like I couldn't handle it. And then also going to Alana's school was always challenging for me because I had a horrible time in that school and so on. So I created so much anxiety in the past, but this time I went there because I was like, I can do this, and I'm going to prove to myself I can do this because I want to be able to do this. And so I did it, and I actually created zero anxiety. There was some thoughts that were like, am I anxious? This, like, in the past I would have been really anxious, what's happening? Is this weird or not? But honestly, inside myself, I felt relaxed and I didn't create anxiety. Another thing was, I went for a walk with my parents and my sister, and went shopping as well. So going out into the public, going shopping, taking on things more. I had the shopping list in my hand. I was responsible for telling the others where to get what, and at the till, I put the things back into the basket instead of just standing there and waiting for my parents. So like, I did stuff. And another thing is, I went for a walk by myself here in Mount Shannon with my dog Akela, which I would never have done in the past alone, because I would have been afraid of who I would meet. And I would have often not decided to go for a walk at all, even if others came with me, because I would have been afraid of who I would meet. Another thing is, I walked into the village with my sister Alana, though she did join, and we got a coffee in a coffee shop, and then we sat down by the harbour, and we walked around our village and stuff, which in the past I would have not wanted to do, because it would have been too challenging. I would have created too much anxiety. I would have constantly been kind of paranoid of there's people I know and what if this and that, and I would have been anxious to order a drink and so on. But everything was fine, and I managed absolutely everything, and I noticed how different I am and how proud I am of myself. And you know, I did all of that, and the fact that I'm even putting on these challenges for myself is just amazing. Another day I told Mom I really want to do something at the weekend. Can we go to the beach? I was just like, let's go and do it. Why not? And so we went to the beach. There in the car though, I did create quite a lot of stupid anxiety because basically Mom was driving fast enough around corners, even though she's a careful driver and she's a good driver. But at the start of the journey and to the beach, it took like an hour and 15 minutes or something. Basically, there was a lot of cars coming towards us and blah, 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 and she was driving faster and she was quite close to my side and stuff as well. So I don't know, I created anxiety about that. I was like, what if we'll crash, and what if, you know, something will happen and she's gonna drive into a car or drive into the bushes beside me. So I don't know, I was creating a lot of anxiety, and at first I really felt like I couldn't do anything about it, and I kept thinking about like, what if this happens, what if that happens. Like, that was the main thing in my mind, and I felt like I couldn't stop it. I felt like I couldn't think about anything else, which then was like, felt like things are outside of my control, and I felt like, oh my god, this is happening to me and I just can't do anything about it, and now, you know, maybe my life will be ruined again. Like my depression, it felt like it was all happening to me and I couldn't do anything about it. I was stuck and just being tortured, and that's a horrible feeling. And in that moment I kind of felt like that again, and then I obviously catastrophized it, being like, oh my god, maybe this is the proof, you know, everything's getting worse and so on. Yeah, and at first, you know, I tried a couple things, like a bit, like trying to just move my body or get more comfortable, put on sunglasses, put on music, trying to like do some things to show myself, look, I can kind of change the situation a bit. And I was like, look, it doesn't help to brood, it doesn't help to think about it, doesn't help to catastrophize or create anxiety, just relax, it's all okay. We were always safe in the car with Mom. We're gonna arrive at our destination. There's a 99% chance we're gonna arrive safely at our destination. I was like, look, relax, it doesn't help. It doesn't help to be anxious, but then it felt like nothing's actually getting better. And then I was beating myself up, being like, why can't you stop this? Why is it not working? Why haven't you got those skills yet? Why are you creating this? Why are you doing this? And so on. So then I was beating myself up and noticing then that that's unhelpful. So then I was like beating myself up for beating myself up. I was like, that's unhelpful, stop doing that. So I made everything so much worse than it needed to be, which I noticed in that moment. But then I felt like I can't find anything that can help me. But then I was like, okay, what will help me is to actually watch something. So I put on a series on my phone and I watched a series, and that's what really distracted me then. And I focused completely on the series and my anxiety went down a lot, and I was much more relaxed. And then I had helpful thoughts again, like, it's okay, we're gonna arrive there safely. Then I used my imagination to imagine us arriving there safely, having a great time at the beach and so on. So then that was kind of helpful, but I was still holding on to, like, you created this, you did this, like, why would you do that? You know it's so unhelpful, you know that can create a depression, you know this and that can happen. So I was still, yeah, I guess beating myself up for it. I was still holding on to the fact that I had created it, not that, look, oh my god, I made my anxiety decrease, you know, I did things to help myself. But I was holding on to the fact that I did create those thoughts, that I did create anxiety. I was like, I shouldn't have done that, you know, you should be able to be calm, which is so freaking stupid and unhelpful, obviously. But yeah, that's then what I kept brooding about that day, the fact that I did create those anxious thoughts and that it felt like I couldn't do anything about it. And that obviously is a very scary place to be in, when you feel like things are just happening to you and it feels bad, because anxiety doesn't feel good. and then it feels like you can't do anything, you just have to handle it, and you're trying all these things, but it's kind of making everything worse and nothing's working. But then I was trying to keep focus on as well, on how, look, I at least I tried to help myself. Then I tried to praise myself that at least I tried to help myself. And then I found some things that did help. I just noticed, I was brooding so much, I just needed to distract myself, get away from everything in my mind, focus on something strongly. And I then decreased anxiety, but I wasn't focusing on that because I felt like I need to brood about the negative things so that I find an answer for that, so it doesn't happen again, my world doesn't come crashing down, and so I can handle it and I can be better. Instead of being like, look, I found ways to handle it then, I found ways to decrease it. So that holding on to that negative thing then kind of, made me feel less good throughout the day, but it was okay. Like, the thoughts kept popping into my mind in between. I wish they wouldn't have at all, though. I wish I wouldn't have at all brooded about it and just been like, look, it's okay, these things happen, I made it out again, and I'll find an answer until, I don't create those negative thoughts anymore. Yeah. But on the way back as well, it was actually fun because me and my sisters were singing in the car with Mom beside us as well, and that I would have never done in the past, because I would have been like, no, I can't sing, that's embarrassing, they won't want to hear my voice, and I was always so anxious about doing that. But this time I was like, it's just so fun to sing, and I love singing, and I just did it with my sisters because it's cool, and I actually didn't feel anxious about my mother being there as well. Even though I did have some thoughts like that, I was like, in the past I would have been really anxious, and maybe it's a bit weird, because my voice isn't great and she can hear it now. But no, that didn't stop me. It didn't stop me. I still sang and I still had a fun time. Yeah. I feel like I could talk about so much more because it felt like there was so much in my mind the past few days. So many thoughts, that a lot of unhelpful ones as well, like a lot of them. But it's a process and I'm progressing, I would say, even though sometimes it feels like I'm not. That's that. I could, of course, keep talking about so many negative things and keep telling myself how everything's so bad, but I'm going to decide not to do this because I'm very sure this video is long enough. And it's a process. Like, I'm gonna keep working until I thrive, and yes, there is ups and downs. Some downs feel very scary and very, sad and hurtful or whatever, but there is ways to handle everything in life. There is ways that you can cope and you can thrive and you can feel strong, and there is ways to cope with everything, honestly. So let's keep going until we find that. Thank you very much, or until we built it up, really, not just find it, it's us building it up, us, making it possible. Okay, thank you very much for watching, take care, and until the next time, bye.